Hey y'all, it is Grim here in Glasgow, Kentucky. I wanted to make a video. I want to introduce myself. This is a new channel. A lot of you don't know me. I'm actually new-ish to the city of Glasgow. Um, Maybe get the opportunity, go over my background, and establish a little bit of my character. I just bought a house here in Glasgow, Kentucky. I absolutely love it here. It is beautiful. Great people. Some of the best people I've ever met. Also, some of the worst. Like I said, a little bit of my background. I used to do this. I guess we'll call it for kicks. Not even as a hobby. I was basically forced into learning audit work, specifically towards the Constitution, the amendment, and small town politics is where I grew up. Very small town that could fit into a Walmart parking lot. We had extremely corrupt police. We had extremely corrupt politicians. But long story short, I had to fight tooth and nail just because they didn't like me. I'm outspoken. I call it like I see it. And if it is something that's wrong to a certain degree, I'm not backing down. I don't care who you are. I fear no man under heaven. And in my old hometown, FAFO prevailed after, a couple of years of fighting the good old boy system. I figured I'd never have to do it again. What are the odds, right? Boy, am I wrong. I bought a house here in Glasgow, Kentucky, in the most beautiful neighborhood I could have ever picked. Like I said, I've met so many good people here, but unfortunately, the people here are oppressed. We have no civil liberties in Glasgow, Kentucky. We have no freedom of speech. We have no freedom of the press. We have no freedoms, just taxes and corruption. Touching base on a little bit of what we're doing here. At the moment, we are focused solely on police corruption and small town government level corruption, being mayor, city council. Basically, the city of Glasgow has declared war on me and my family. And that is blatantly obvious. They do not even try to hide it. The corruption in this town is so deep that they do things in broad daylight on Main Street. I've got one video I can post and one that I can't, that can testify to this story a little bit. But if you film a police officer in the city of Glasgow, Kentucky, they put hands on you. They try to take your phone. But here's the thing, if you don't record them, they do worse. I know, firsthand. I am seemingly the poster boy of anarchy in this town, and I don't even do anything. I'm a hermit. Like I said, I haven't done this type of work in well over a decade because I thought I learned a lesson, but I didn't learn the right lesson. I learned to be a hermit, to close myself away from society, to push away friends, because when you grow up in a corrupt town, you either move to get away or you got to fight to keep what's yours. And I love my family first and foremost, more than anything. I love our home. I love the home we've built here. I love my neighbors. But as I stated, war has been declared. I had one incident where I was having active mini strokes in a hospital waiting room floor for roughly an hour and a half, solid mini strokes, because the City of Glasgow Police Department stalks me. They harass me. Why, do you ask? Because when we first moved here, I was just learning about flock cameras. I hadn't hardly heard the word before. And I come here to such a ridiculously small town, and they're everywhere. So I started doing research. I started asking questions. What are they? We'll make another video about that. That's a long discussion. But I went to the Glasgow City Police Department. Me being military and having a law enforcement background myself, I asked for a desk sergeant. Wasn't one. I asked who's in charge. Nobody, apparently. I asked to speak to anybody. I was told no. And finally, I pushed the topic, and she said to basically call 911 and say it's non-emergent. Can you send somebody to my location to speak to me? I'm standing in a police station full of cops. They could have opened one door to speak to me. At the time, I didn't think much about it, but an individual did come and talk to me. He was nice, he was polite, he was respectful. He answered what he could on his pay grade, which was, I don't want to say low, but there weren't any stripes. He then commenced to telling me that the chief of police in this town loves talking to the community. He sure does. Just not proper. I'll get to that later. But we had a gentleman's conversation that day. I was polite. He is, older is an understatement. He is a very old man. We had a gentleman's conversation. We shook hands at the end of it. And all I asked him was one question that I already knew the answer to. When I ask a question, I already know the answer. If I'm working, I know the answer. He commenced to tell me the date that the city approved the flock cameras. That was my one question. He gave me a date. I already knew it. And I said, so you're certain that the city council voted and approved these cameras? 100%. That is a lie. That is false. They were not voted on. There was no vote. There was no approval on the date in question. It's on the City of Glasgow, Kentucky YouTube page. I might be a few days off on the date, but if I remember right, it was June 26, 2023. I'll post something as a comment later when I get off here. That's all I said. I then stood up, and he made his point crystal clear that he is 100% in support of flock cameras. He said they are free. They're free to install. They are free to purchase. Flock upkeeps them. There's no cost. They said that in the town council meeting. He had unlimited time to speak. Everything's free. They even brought in a flock specialist who works for Flock. She made a PowerPoint presentation Free, 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 free. At the end of the meeting, there was no vote. The mayor said, "It looks like in your budget you already have enough money to purchase 3 units." He said, I'll go ahead and approve the purchase. They were bought that day. No vote. But I already knew that. I've already watched the video. It was roughly an hour and 15 minutes long. I watched it. I memorized it. I can quote it. But that's all we talked about. I stand up to leave, and then I'm told, with a very smug smile, "Oh, by the way, we're going to be watching you. Because if you're in opposition of them, then you're doing something wrong." I respectfully said, "No, sir. I'm not doing anything wrong. I'm basically a hermit these days. I don't leave my house." But ever since that day, if I drive under a flock camera, there is a black and white behind me. Less than 2 minutes every day of the week. Since that day, I go to Walmart, black and whites. I go to the grocery store, black and whites. It was low-level stress at the time, but that escalated to the point of today I am a stroke survivor. I have many strokes due to a tremendous amount of stress, because there's some instances I can't talk about because I don't have any proof whatsoever, and I only talk about what I can prove. But I was detained by the City of Glasgow Police Department. Same officer, I'll get to that in a minute too, for having strokes in a hospital waiting room floor. I was deemed combative because a security guard identified my service dog's vest patches as military. So of course now I'm a crazy veteran. That information will come into effect here in a minute. They detained me. They would not let me leave. They would not let me stand up. They would not let me do anything because I was having strokes. They detained my son, who was there with me. They questioned him. They berated him with questions for 30 minutes. What drugs are your dad on? What drugs does your dad do? Over and over and over. After the first time, my son said, "My dad does not do drugs of any kind." That should have been it. He should have been cut loose. They detained my service dog, a legitimate service dog that I've had. Bubby, how long has it been? 6 years? About 6 years. They would not let him come to my aid having active mini strokes for roughly 30 to 45 minutes. My dog was in as much distress as I was. Fast forward to 2 days ago, I put in an open records request with the City of Glasgow Police Department Open Records Office. 3 weeks ago, I had one request for the full, unedited, unredacted City Council meeting for the date of the flock approval. I asked for, I very meticulously wrote everything to get every bit of information that they had from flock: master copies, locations, cost, upkeep, everything. But I worded it perfectly. Verbiage is my thing. And I never heard from them. There was no denied, approved. There was no We'll get back with you. We need 5 more days. Nothing. They just didn't respond. At the same day, I put in a request to talk to the mayor. Didn't respond. I'm a citizen. Not only am I a United States citizen, I'm a citizen of Glasgow, Kentucky. I own a home here. Didn't respond. So, it was, like I said, 2 days ago, which is, they have 5 minutes by their own policy. They have 5 days per their own policy to give me the records. 3 weeks had went by. Like I said, 2 days ago, I went in to ask where they are. I was told, I don't know. I then asked to see the records clerk. I was like, y'all only had 5 days. It's been 3 weeks. She said, oh, well, she'll be here any minute. I'll take a message. That was a lie. I said, yes, ma'am. I went and sat down. After about 10 minutes, I asked her if there was a delay. She didn't say nothing. And I said, ma'am, y'all are going to close soon. I'm just wondering if she's going to make it on time. She then proceeds to tell me she's in Alaska. I then asked the most logical question I think I've ever asked. Who is her replacement? I was told that there is a lady in the police department in the city of Glasgow that's filling in for her. I said, well, can you have her come down here, please? No. She has an official post at the police department. I then asked the next most logical question I've ever asked. Can she do her duties from the police station? No. But she keeps telling me to go talk to her at the police station. I told her, ma'am, what good will that do? If she can't give me what I need from her location, what good is that? She logically has to come here. Once again, she can't come here. She would be abandoning her official post. Okay. I said, well, what are we going to do? She said, I don't know. And it's about that time, she went to go get some help. It was an unidentified man. He didn't give me his position, but he worked in the records office. He was very calm, very respectful. And basically, the first sentence out of his mouth was, you need to take this department to AG. His own department. He said, and I quote, you need to take us all to AG. He said, what you're asking for, they're not giving it. They're behind on their deadline. Which is true. They don't care. They get paid in the city of Glasgow to do nothing. That's my tax money, your tax money. Well, about that time, I was wrapping it up with him. I was on my country goodbye of trying to walk away, as saying things such as, good to meet you. It's been a pleasure. Have a nice day. 2 Glasgow City police officers walk in the door. They didn't announce themselves. They didn't say, I'm Officer Bob and this is Officer Tom. They didn't say nothing. They just surrounded me. I did not acknowledge them, and I never did. It's roughly a minute and 30 seconds later, 2 more came in, surrounded me. And I'm still ignoring them, because that is how you deal with corruption. They want to rage bait you, and I know this for a fact because they said it out loud. Here in a minute, I'll get to that. Anyway, maybe not even a whole minute later, our chief of police, Chief Howee, Howee, he came in, surrounded me. Didn't say a word. They didn't say you are detained. They didn't say you are suspicious. They didn't say I'm committing a crime. They didn't say a word. And then two more came in after him as I'm officially wrapping up with this guy with the bless you, have a nice day. And I go to leave, and they have me boxed in so tight that I can't move. I can't turn around. I had to physically cross my arms like a corpse and turn around, which would be an about face 360 turn for those that are military, just so I didn't accidentally hit a cop. Because what do you do when you turn around? Your arm sways. I'm not stupid. I would have been charged with assault. I then went to leave. They wouldn't let me. Still boxed in. And then the chief of police, finally, he spoke. He said, "What can I do for you?" I told him respectfully, "Sir, nothing." He then proceeded to tell me how he is the boss. Everything goes through him. You have to talk to me directly. Respectfully, "No, sir, I do not." That is why I'm at the county clerk's office. I filled out paperwork. They get the information, if it's even required from your department, and then they give it to me. I don't have to go to all these people. I don't have to go to the mayor and then the chief of police and a secretary. I don't have to do that. That's not how it works. Realizing at this point that I am not a fool, I said, "Good day, gentlemen." They parted, let me walk. And as if that is not appalling enough, by the time I hit the front door, I was flabbergasted. I was genuinely shook, because little did I know, the entire time I was in there being harassed by the Glasgow City Police Department, they had detained my son and service dog once again. We were parked in front, legally parked. The chief of police had my driver's side door blocked in, so I couldn't get in my own vehicle. I had police on every sides around my vehicle, boxed me in, so much so that they closed a lane of traffic on the square in front of the courthouse in Glasgow, Kentucky. They shut down a lane of traffic, which basically there was a roundabout, and then they shut it off right here. So cars were having to go around, cut off other cars to get around the police cruiser. I stood there filming for 15 minutes, and I made it crystal clear, I'm not leaving until y'all leave. Once again, nobody said you're detained, you're under investigation, you're under suspicion, you're being suspicious, you're hostile, you're drunk, you're high, you're stoned, you've got a gun, you've got a nuclear bomb. Nobody said a word. They just detained me. And the definition of detainment is physically not being able to get away. Technically, you're supposed to be properly detained, and it's properly explained, but I could not get away. So it ended up being 15 additional minutes of 7 police officers and the chief of police. All of them cats. Well, the chief left. The rest of them went across the street and was doing the traditional, "Hey, what are we going to get him with?" "I don't know, man. Let's talk about it. Let's think about it. We'll get him for something." 10 whole minutes they did that. Me standing there recording. They ain't got nothing on me, and they never will. I don't do anything. I don't go anywhere. I hardly even drink anymore. The Glasgow Police Department, you will never, ever have anything on me. But in a way, I'm glad that they harass me because I'm doing this community a service. Because every time they flex on me in public, in broad daylight, they leave clues, they leave evidence. And all I've been doing at this point is just picking them up, putting them in my pocket, documenting it. But this is what I'm dealing with in my own home. Oh, and somehow they have legal jurisdiction in my county. I wasn't worried about this in the beginning because I live in the county. You know, what are y'all gonna do to me? You can't touch me. Kind of find out they have jurisdiction here in the county. They drive by my house daily. Speed limit's 55 miles an hour. Everybody else does 80. Like the car driving by, that's at least 80. They do about 15 in front of my house every day. It's all a flex. They're trying to intimidate me into taking the knee like the rest of this town has. For one, I lost my knee in the United States Army. I will not bend a knee for anybody under heaven. I don't care who you are. Glasgow City Police Department, City Council of Glasgow, Mayor Royce of Glasgow, consider yourself on notice. I am watching you. I'm not the smartest man in the world, but I know the law, I know the Constitution, I know my rights. You are. It's okay. Poor baby gets scared. Y'all don't know who you're messing with. And literally the only things you can do to me at this point, which I'm waiting for any day, it'll happen. A cease and desist letter. I wasn't mentioning their names before. Now I drop names every chance I get. I haven't got a cease and desist letter yet, but they will. And I've already got a plan for that. The only thing left they've got to do is to do what my old hometown did to me, to get me to shut up and go away. Somehow, drugs were magically in my car that was parked in a parking lot. Somehow, they magically had a warrant 30 seconds later. My motto is and always will be FAFO. Y'all about to find out, alright? My doors are locked, my windows are up, my house is locked. The only thing you can do is throw a crack rock in my yard. And then you can't prove it's mine. You don't have a leg to stand on. So I'm going to keep doing what I do. I play Pokemon Go in public. That's what I do. Feel free, any other auditors, if you wanna get in on my gimmick, feel free, because you can play Pokemon Go just about anywhere. Did y'all know that government offices are Pokestops? Libraries, most police departments. I like to play Pokemon Go. And I'm gonna catch them all, or I'm gonna die trying. Well, I guess that's about enough. And City of Glasgow, I genuinely want to help. I want everybody to feel safe in their own homes, to be able to get a public records request without being detained. I don't want your children to go through what mine have. Nobody in America should have to deal with anything I've dealt with since I've lived here less than a year, because it's illegal, it's unconstitutional, it's immoral. The self-proclaimed Christians, I don't see any Christians. Christians don't do this. It is my genuine desire to improve the quality of life of everyone in the city of Glasgow. This is a poor town with big hearts. I very much want the residents here to be able to open up their hearts and not be afraid. To be able to go to the grocery store and put food on your table and not be detained like I am. Well, it's time to get off here. It is grim in Glasgow. Y'all have a blessed day.